Okay, I'm back and we're going to continue coloring this Rosie image from Sugar Nellie. And I mentioned it in the last video. She's stamped using Memento Tuxedo Black on Copic X-Press It cardstock. And all of the colors I'm using on her, I actually pulled from these papers that I plan on using on the card. It's a Valentine card. It's Love Struck from Making Memories. It's a couple years old, so I don't know how available it is anymore, but I thought I'd show you the colors that I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to get started, and I chose E81 and just the colorless blender for her wings, because I'm just putting in, I want them to be white. But I, wanted to give them a little bit of shadow, and I like the E81 for kind of a natural shadow tone without being gray. I know I've mentioned that before on some other videos. So I just, hit it in there a little bit, leaving plenty of white space. And then I'm just going to use the colorless blender to kind of push it and lighten it so it gradiates into the white a bit smoother. Okay. And while that is still saturated with the colorless blender, I'm going to go with one more round of the E81, just in those darkest areas, in those little folds that are going to be. And that's going to, so it's not going to be as dark with that colorless blender already on, soaking into the paper, but it's really going to give a little bit more definition to those areas that I want to be darkest. When the image is all colored up. And we're still going with my original light source of the upper right. That's why I have a lot more white showing on the outside of the wing here than where it kind of folds over on itself in the center, middle of the wing here. I'm going to blend it a little bit more in the middle. There, and on this side of it would naturally be darker as well. Okay, and then I'm going to call that good. I don't want to fuss with it too much, because the more color I keep laying on, the less and less white those wings are going to look. Okay, so now I also am going to be pulling in some brown just for small accents, because there's some brown in the papers I'm going to be using. And I chose E57. It's going to be a dark brown combination, and I'm going to be using it down here on her sandals. I'm just coloring that very carefully with the very tip of the pen in that little small space. And I'm also going to do the waistband on her dress in this brown. Okay. And now to E59. Naturally, over here where her stomach and her torso is kind of bending over, it's going to be darker. I'm leaving this area white here because that's where our light source is coming in, and at the end that's going to be our lightest area of brown. And I'm finishing it off with E49, which is a very, very, very dark brown. And so it's just going to be a little bit of it over in our most shadowed areas. Just on the back side of that there. Okay, now I've worked my way up, laying the color down. Now I'm going to work my way back down, blending it all together. So I'm back to my E59. I'm just pulling that a little bit further in each time. and finishing it off with the E57. Finally filling in that area that I left white at first. Like I said, I was going for a very dark brown. That's why these are all pretty dark brown tones. But this is what I wanted to match the paper. Okay, so we're done with those. And now I've got her dress, which is going to be R30, R32, R35, and R39. And I'm going to start with the R30 up top. And you're not going to have a whole lot of light space on that side because, you know, with her bent over, a lot of that's cast in the shadow, whereas this little area is going to be much lighter because the light is going to hit it a little bit more. You still have the wing casting a bit, so I'm not leaving a whole lot of white, but definitely going to be lighter than the inside in here. And then with the skirt, I'm getting down here where I know she's casting a shadow on it. We got a lot of pleats and folds we're going to be tackling. And so, right away I got one here. Coming up on, there's a little bit fold there. And so this is all pretty light. And then it's folding on itself there, and there too. And we got a little bit of dip here. I think that's a fold up there. Under these wings back here. Okay. And then down here. All this is going to be kind of dark on that side. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now my R32. And this up here at least, and on the top part of her skirt, I'm going to only use these two colors because I want to try to create a variegated look on this dress that you'll see as I keep coloring. But for my lightest parts, which is up top in the top part of her skirt, I'm only going to be using these two colors. I'm just, again, kind of knocking in wherever the fabric is folding over on itself. Back here it's going to be darker. Now, I'm not too concerned with smooth blends, pretty lines at this point. I'm just getting that color in where I want it to come up. Now, to finish off that top part of her dress, I'm going to go back in with the R30. I'm just going to smooth out the blend between those two colors. Just like that. And do the same on the top part of the dress here. Because now I'm going to start working from the hem of the dress up, and I'm actually going to start with my darkest and kind of variegate up into that lighter tone that we laid down. So this is just getting the color on. And you can decide how much, you know, how wide you want your band of the darkest color to be as it kind of variegates up. I'm going pretty small. And then we'll blend. Okay. And that inside is going to be this darkest color as well. And this is just, you know, I'm kind of playing and experimenting here. We'll see how it turns out as we go. R35 is my next one. I'm going to start right over the 39 and kind of feather up. And that's lightening up the 39, which I wanted because my papers had some, you know, the darker kind of maroony reds, but not too dark. Okay. Not looking too shabby. So now I'm back to that R32 finally there. I'm not going to start all the way at the back, it's just kind of in the middle of the 35. Flicking my way up. And again, you can tell I'm not concerned with those flowers floating around. I'm going to take care of them at the end. And then that R30, just to try to smooth that even more up there. Kind of, I guess, going for that ombre look with this dress as well. Okay, so I've got the gist of the colors on there, and now I'm going to continue going back in and keep smoothing it out, and start reinforcing the shadows and folds with these darker colors as well, because like this little area here and under where it folds in on itself, it's gonna, I'm hitting that again with the R39 because it's gonna be darker down there and a little bit darker over here, but I'm gonna keep it pretty light up there. Now the R35, just kind of pulling again. Okay, smaller on these lighter areas, I think. Come up that little fold there. Back on that side. And the R32 once again. And this is kind of like on the last video where you just keep playing with your combination as it's still kind of working wet. So you'll get the blend and decide how dark you want this to be. And I mean, you can oversaturate. You've got to be careful. Once you get to a certain point, it's just not going to take color and blend well anymore. But I still got a little ways before I hit that point. But something you want to, be careful of. You can't keep going in and adding and adding and adding. It's after a certain point, it's just going to start getting muddy on you. Okay, so now with my 32, I'm also going to reinforce up top here because it was my darkest color in that combination up above. So I'm going to help bring that back into the pleats and folds up here again. And I'm going to hit her little top one more time too. Okay. R30. One more last blend, and then I think I'm going to call that done. Okay, that's a pretty little kind of variegated ombre looking dress on her. Now I'm just going to do that rose with R43, 46, and 59. And I'm just never very precise with the flowers. I just want to get some color down. I just kind of spot it on. Darker in the center, and then away from that light source I'm going to hit some darker spots. But it's pretty imprecise. And then back to my lightest. And it just gives you enough, you can tell there's petals, and it's a small little part of the image anyway. And then a little bit of green for the leaf down here. That's a YG95, and finishing it with a YG99 to give it a little bit of shadow. Okay, so that, she's still in frame, yeah. Okay, the coloring is done on her. One more thing before I move on is I do want to take my R59, that darkest red, and those little flowers that were floating around, I'm going back in and adding some red to them. So I wasn't quite done. Caught myself there. Okay, I think that's all the flowers. Yeah. Oh, do I want the red ones? We'll go ahead. I wasn't going to, but we'll add some red to these little flowers that I left up in her hair here. Okay, because most of it anyway. I have this Ranger Liquid Pearls in White Opal. And I'm just going to use that, and I'm going to carefully just do little drops of the pearl, liquid pearls, on all these little dots that are kind of floating around her. Down here on her sandals. And these will have to sit and dry. As small as these are, it's not going to take a long time, probably about half an hour. And then I'll be good to go, finishing her up. And just, you know, really light. There we go. Drop them on there. I think I got, oh, the centers of these flowers here. One more over here. Okay, I think I got them all. And now, a little trick with that, if you take your paper and flip it over, and just kind of flick it a couple times, it evens out those drops so they lose the point that they can get, and it just kind of makes them more round and pearl-like. And it really does work. Just a couple flicks, and you'll lose that kind of high point that you can get dropping them on from the bottle. So those are a great little accent to the image, and they'll be really pretty once it dries up, and it really does look like little pearls. And you can get, I mean, these are super tiny. I use a lot of like half-back pearls on my cards and stuff, but I've never found any as small as this. So for that, that's where the liquid pearls are just fantastic. And okay, so she's done, but I did think of a request that I've had, and that is to show my card making process, start to finish. And since I have her so far done and my paper is all pulled, I think I'm going to do one more video. And it's going to be actually putting together this card with Rosie. So once these dry, I'll be back and we'll finish this off completely, and it'll be something new, and I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.